On the show today, we're diving into what a business called Eggslut can teach social media managers.
Welcome to JFDI with the two Lauras. This is the podcast for freelance social media managers who want real talk, smart strategy, a bit of a laugh along the way. So if you've ever found yourself doom scrolling instead of writing content, panicking over your pricing maybe, or side-eyeing the latest Instagram update, you're in the right place because we do that too. We're here in your ears every single Tuesday, and we're now also on YouTube. So if you are watching us on YouTube, hello. Please excuse me sipping my tea throughout this episode. In this episode, we're getting into something that could seriously change the way that you show up in your business and in your content, because you might be diluting your message and confusing your audience. So we're going to show you how some of the biggest and boldest brands keep it simple and how you can too.
But before we get into it, we would love to hear from you. So if you're watching on YouTube, come and drop a hello in the comments. And if you're listening in the car or out walking, come on over to Instagram later on and let us know what part hit home the most today. Okay, on with the show.
I think we should start this episode with our little trip when we went to London.
Oh, go on.
And we were like, oh, where should we go? And we got on the tube and Laura was like, let's go to Notting Hill. So we went to Notting Hill and we were walking around like, what are we going to do? Stupidly had planned to go and have some lunch and then filled ourselves up with a bubble tea, which neither of us have ever had, by the way. And which is the most weird experience ever, a bubble tea.
I felt like I was down with the kids having a bubble tea.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm sold on the experience just yet, but I would have. I had a fizzy one, so maybe that's different. I don't know. Anyway, whilst we were doing that, we passed 3 places that had queues out the door and just were like really busy, but they were all really, really niche. And you could tell they were niche because of their names. So one of them, as Laura's just alluded to in the start of this episode, was called Eggslut. Any idea what they sell? I bet you can't guess.
Well, hopefully it's not sluts.
Eggs, maybe? Well, yeah, hopefully not. We also passed Doughnut Doughnut. Again, that was really busy. Sandwich. And it's like these places couldn't think of any names, so they just told us what is on the tin.
Yeah, but I love it.
Do, so
yeah, I love that. It was just clear. If you wanted a sandwich, you would go to Sandwich. If you wanted a donut, you'd go to Doughnut Doughnut. If you wanted a if you wanted an egg, you'd go to Eggslut. It just makes you know when you're and in London in particular, but we know when you're overwhelmed with options. It was just brilliant. There was kind of no confusion, no like, oh, I don't know, do I want this? If you want a sandwich, you just go to Sandwich.
Yeah. And like, I think a lot of people would think, but if you only sell sandwiches, then you're not going to get the people who want a burger or who want chips. If you only sell donuts, you won't get the people who want a croissant. Yeah. You only sell eggs, you won't get someone who wants some bacon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, so what? You get all the people who do want those things you sell.
Yeah. So they're not wasting their time having to say to people coming in going, oh, do you do salads in the sandwich shop? It's like, no, we do sandwiches. It's like,
I mean, we didn't go into sandwich, so maybe they do salads.
No, I did look. I looked at the menu because I wanted a salad. But straight away that meant I didn't step foot in the door. I didn't go in. I didn't ask them. I didn't annoy anybody. I just knew, okay, they do sandwiches. Keep walking.
And some people would be like, but that means we've lost your money, Laura. But I don't think that's a bad thing.
But I would never have bought. All I'd have done is wasted their time because I didn't want a sandwich. So I would never.
Sandwich you probably didn't enjoy.
Yeah, or just not buy one. I'd have gone in there, asked questions. Can you do a salad? And wasted people's time.
But what you do know is if that company only sells sandwiches, they're going to be good sandwiches. Yeah. If they only sell donuts, you can guarantee those donuts will be really, really good.
Yeah.
You know, it's because they're not trying to do loads of different things. They're just doing one thing, doing it really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think that's, important. And it makes you stand out, doesn't it? Not just to people who are like passing down the street, but if you only do one thing and that's the thing that you're talking about when you're on social, that makes you stand out too, which is where we're going, obviously, in this podcast.
Yeah.
But your content will be really specific because it's really, really niche. So if people are interested in looking at content about sandwiches, they know that that's where they're going to get it, right?
Yeah, it gives clarity to everybody, I think.
Yeah. And it's not just little businesses like those that do it well. Like if you think about a brand like Levi's, what are Levi's known for? They're known for jeans. They're known for anything that's made out of denim. That's what they're known for. And yet, like, they probably sell other stuff, random belts, whatever. But their reputation is all built on jeans and Levi jeans being the best jeans. Now, I personally don't own any Levi jeans these days, but if I wanted some really good jeans, I would know that Levi's would sell them.
Yeah.
So you become known, don't you? It's your reputation's built on that, isn't it?
And I think that's the important thing, is that you don't dilute what you're good at. You just go all in. I was going to say something out then.
You were going to say balls in.
No,
balls deep.
Balls deep.
Balls in?
You go balls deep on what you want to be known for, what you want your
why didn't you say that? Is it because we're on YouTube that you stopped yourself from saying that?
I didn't. Yeah, maybe. How does balls deep resonate on YouTube?
I don't know.
Let us know in the comments.
Or maybe don't. No links below. Thank you very much. Anyway, moving on. So what has any of this got to do with you as a social media manager? I think it's pretty obvious where we're going. Laura's favourite topic. Niching, obviously. I think if your messaging is really specific, it will help you to reach the right people. And if it's not, then it becomes really, really difficult for people to understand what it is that you do, let alone be able to remember what you do or recommend you to people because of what you do. People won't pass you in their feed and know exactly what you do if you're speaking to everybody about all sorts of things, right?
It just becomes a bit wishy-washy, doesn't it? The amount of accounts that I can look at, and I'm like, and I try, and obviously I look at them, I try to be kind of impartial if I know them and just be like, right, what would someone completely cold to this business think? And if there is no clarity, it's confusing, it's wishy-washy. It's like, what does that actually mean is often the question we'll ask us, each other. What does that mean? Like,
yeah, what they're talking about.
Yeah, being clear and specific is so much easier for a kind of a cold or even slightly warm audience.
Yeah. And because if you're generic and you're like talking about loads of different things, people don't kind of go out and look for you. Or if they are looking for one of the things that you do, you're probably not going to be the person that stands out to them.
Yeah.
Right? So like if they're looking for somebody for help with Instagram, but you do Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and your content is about all of these different things, when they're searching for you, they're probably going to pass you by because like, oh, well, I don't really need LinkedIn. I don't really need Facebook. So therefore you're less relevant to me. So you become a bit more generic, a bit less interesting to people. And your audience gets confused, but it's not just your audience that gets confused. The algorithm gets confused because it doesn't know what you're talking about or who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And then, that means that your content then doesn't get served to the right people. People it does get served to are confused. They then also are confused whether you're right for them, but they also don't know if you're right for other people they know. So they can't recommend you. They can't refer you. It's just all just confusing. Whereas if I wanted eggs, I could now say to someone, go to Eggslut. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's easy and simple.
Ultimately, when people are confused, they switch off. Like, people aren't prepared to figure these things out. And why should they figure things out when there are plenty other social media marketers out there who you don't need to figure it out for? They are really on point with their messaging.
Yeah, totally. That's it, isn't it? If it's easy to get it elsewhere, you just go elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. If I walked into a shop and there was like a Tesco's Express, say, loads of different options to have my lunch, and I was just totally overwhelmed, didn't know what I wanted, but next door is sandwich, I'd be like, you know what? I know that if I go to sandwich, where they just focus on sandwiches, the sandwiches are going to be really good. They're going to be really, well thought through. They're going to be just, because they have to be, because that's their whole business relies on good sandwiches. Or could I just stand in here in Tesco's for ages, being really confused, not really knowing what I'm going to have, end up with a really crappy sandwich that was probably made days ago on crappy bread. So I walk out of Tesco's and I go into sandwich because I just know it's just easy. I know what I'm going to get, and I know that what I get is going to be good because it's what they excel at.
Yeah. Definitely.
Quite fancy a sandwich now. Quite fancy an egg sandwich, actually.
Okay, that's what we're going to have for lunch then. Nice. Okay, so should we flip it then to how, like, what you can do to become known? Like, we talk about niching a lot, and I know a lot of people get put off by us saying, you got a niche. But you don't have to be really specific. None of this is like you have to do it for life. You're not buying a puppy that you've got to keep for the rest of your life. Otherwise, everyone looks down on you because you send it to the dog rescue. This is not the situation. These things can change. So just think about what we're saying in a way that, okay, what can I do for now? And, what can I do later and change up later? Because you do want to be known for one thing, or, a couple of very specific things, whether it's because it's, real strategy, ads management, working within a specific industry. And it doesn't mean that you can't offer those other things. It just means that the thing that you lead with, the thing that you talk about, you become known for. Sandwich probably sells Diet Coke. They don't put it on the door because you happen to go in, you get what you want your sandwich, and then you get those other things that go with it, right? So you don't have to talk about everything that you do because that becomes confusing. You just have to lead with the thing that you want to become known for. And that then builds your reputation, and then people can recommend you and stuff, and it makes everything easier.
I do think that's where some people do struggle, is that, but I don't just offer this, or I don't just want to do this. And what happens if someone just scrolls on by because they think I don't do that thing? So they feel like they've got to talk to everybody and they've got to talk about everything they offer. But if you just think very basically, someone comes over to your page because they've seen some content that you're talking about reels, and you're going reels for the next kind of few posts. They're like, yeah, great, this is brilliant, this is just perfect. They may even give you a follow. This is the kind of person I need in my life to help me. And then suddenly you start talking about SEO and you're like, your website and all stuff that isn't relevant to that person. They're like, and they might find it interesting, but they're like, I don't need help with this. It's reels I need help with. So I'm going to go, I might not unfollow you. I'm just going to stop engaging. So therefore, ultimately, what does that mean? You'll stop being shown that content, or that person will stop seeing their content. So then they're gone. You've lost them because you've confused them.
I think also when you talk about lots of different things, people are like, I don't need that bit and I don't need that bit. It's like if you go into, at Christmas when you're buying a gift basket or whatever, or you're maybe want to buy a bundle of things for yourself. You're like, I won't use that bit, so I don't want that bit. That puts you off buying the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's still would be great even if you don't ever use that thing. But it means that you don't buy it. And it's the same with all the different services that you might offer. They might think, I don't need every single thing, so I'll go to somebody who can just give me the one thing that I need.
Yeah.
Because then I know it'll be better.
And that phrase, here we go. Because
there we go.
Drum roll. But the phrase of jack of all trades, master of none. Thank you.
Well done. She got it right.
And that's so true in everything we're talking about now. I've often spoken to clients about this when they're looking to get more help, and they're like, maybe I should just go to maybe they need help with their email marketing. So they go, he's always like, I'd go to an agency, a marketing agency. And I'm like, but don't. Pick a freelancer who focuses fully on email marketing. Go for the people who are, that's their bread and butter. They have to be exceptional at that, because if they're not, then they've got no business. So go for the specifics. Go for the people who really do know what they're talking about.
Yeah, or if you want it cheap, go to the agency.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this podcast, you're not offering a cheap service. You're charging 4 figures, right? So you don't want to be seen as cheap.
You're premium.
Yeah,
you're premium, baby.
So there's a few different ways that you can niche as a social media manager. And when we say that, it's just to reiterate, it's not about what you're offering. It's about what you're talking about in your messaging. It's all about your marketing. Yeah, you're niching your marketing, not your business, not your offers, not even your clients, right? You don't have to get rid of your clients to niche your messaging. So the first one is to niche by service. So this is what I mostly did. So what are you best at? What do you want to be known for? Or what do you just want to offer, right? What do you want your day to be mostly filled with? Or what do you know that you can charge the most for, right? So it could be maybe you just want to be known for reels. You just want to be known because you do ads. You just want to be known for, content planning, engagement, all of, what is that one thing that you want to be known for. Remember, this is about your marketing, not about your service. You could offer all of those. Your client might have all of those from you, but what is the one thing you want to be talking about? Choose that kind of signature thing and lead with that thing in your content. Like Laura and I, if you think about it, we have the Social Media Managers Toolkit. We have the Inner Hub where we support social media managers. We have Ads Manager Academy. We have Social Proof, our social media marketing program. In our content, we don't talk about all of those things because it would be so confusing. We talk about the toolkit, and we talk about things that are related to the toolkit and things that are related to you working as a social media manager that, again, are related to the toolkit. Yes, occasionally we might put in a single piece of content here and there that's like, PS, this is covered in blah, blah, blah. But we don't talk about loads of different messages all the time because it would just confuse people. And we know that from experience because we've done that in the past.
Yeah.
And we know that it just confuses people. So
and
definitely don't do that.
It confuses the algorithm, as we have touched on, that we don't want a massive account with hundreds and thousands of followers, which is made up of social media managers and small business owners and anybody on the internet, because that would just ruin everything for us. We're very, very specific. We only want freelance social media marketers following us. And so we want to make sure that the algorithm isn't confused. So if we're suddenly all talking about Ads Manager Academy, hang on, is that going to just pull in a load of ads managers? Well, actually, we don't want ads managers because we train social media managers to become ads managers. So you have to just be really careful about what words you're using, your keywords, what are they attracting, because you don't want to be attracting the wrong people, because it just dilutes then your impact on your accounts.
Yeah, and I think that leads nicely into the next way that you can niche, which would be by industry, which is the one that we talk about most. It's like the kind of businesses that you want to work with, or you already work with and love working with, or you've got experience in and whatnot. So, and also it's like who gets the best results from the thing that you're offering. So, it could be that it's really specific because it's, I don't know, coaches and course creators, SaaS companies, pet businesses, my favorite greengrocers. It could be any industry like that. And then your content speaks directly to them. It uses their language and you build up an audience that's just those people so that your content is for them. It resonates with them. They pay attention to it. They know where to go when they need your help. They know that they can recommend you to their friends in similar industries. And the algorithm knows, okay, this person, their account is a pet business. Therefore, I should show this social media manager's content to them because they're speaking to pet businesses, right? So you're really specific in that way. Then there's another way, which quite a few of our members do this now, where you're kind of niching by your values, your personality, their personality. It doesn't have to be like a sector or service, although we would probably layer one of those on. So it might be that and we've got one of our members works with introverted business owners, which is really great. We've got other people who work with busy parents. So it's really specific in the type of person that they are. And where I say specific, I mean specific. You're not just working with women. That's 50% of the population. So you're niching that down a bit more, right?
Yeah.
You're not just working with parents, you're working with really busy parents or parents of toddlers, so it's really specific in that way. And then you can kind of own that messaging, and people who fit into that kind of category and see themselves like that are drawn to you and drawn to your content.
Because you may find that just naturally, because of your personality and because of how you show up, that you attract a certain type of person. We're no fluff, straight talking people. So we tend to attract people who kind of appreciate that. Not always, but we often do. And so your vibe attracts your tribe, so you can start to think, hang on, who am I? How am I showing up? What kind of person is that attracting? And is there therefore a commonality in that personality maybe, or in their values that you can start talking specifically to, whether it be that they're no fluff people, or maybe they're quite woo-woo people. It's those kind of things that you can start to pay attention to. It's just observing what's going to happen around you. Who is coming? Who are you attracting, and who are you repelling, and what are there any commonalities? And you might not know that. You might have to kind of get into conversation with them or follow them for a bit to pick that out. But it's definitely worth paying attention to, because I think it's a really interesting way of niching.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, the best way is if you can do all of that.
Yeah.
You know, niche by the values or the personality, whatever. Also, because they're in a specific industry and they want a specific service, like that makes your content so much easier to create. And it means that it will resonate more. They will react more. They'll engage more. They'll follow you. They will recommend you. They will eventually work with you. And that's that's a perfect niche. That is your sandwich, your donut kind of niching, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, it's people who want, what you sell, but in the way that you sell it as well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, think about that as well. And don't forget, like I've said, this is not forever. This can change. It can be ever evolving. You know, the way that you speak to people can change. Like our messaging used to be social media managers. Then it was social media marketers. Now it's social media managers again. You kind of have to just think about who is it you're speaking to? What language do they resonate with?
Yeah.
How do you call them out? Like, do they call themselves pet businesses or are they a pet food supplier? You know, it's just like small little tweaks like that means that you resonate with them. So you really have to get to know those industries.
Yeah, and we didn't just jump from social media manager to social media marketer back to social media manager because we can't make a decision. We made that based on the data. We looked at what search terms people were using. We looked at our data to see which of our content people resonated with. And we started to see over a period of time that social media manager was still kind of hitting home more than a social media marketer. So we went back to using that. And that's not to say that we'll do that forever. It may well be in, you know, a year's time, it's something completely different. But it's about learning what resonates, learning what works, looking at the data, which I love.
I hate. Yeah. But it's like about being specific now. Like literally now, this week, what can you do to be specific? To be more visible, to land better clients within a specific niche, to create better content, create it easier, because this does make everything so much easier because you know exactly what to put in your content because you know what their problems are, you know what words to use. It makes everything so much easier. It means that you're found in search and all of that sort of thing. And then like that, so that's a now job. What can you do now to be more specific? But moving on, what can you do in time that makes it even more specific or even gives even more clarity and less kind of variety and confusion for people? So have a think about that. And we have a big bonus tip, which is, we've kind of touched on it, but if you are really super specific in what you're talking about, who you're talking about, how you're talking about it, you can train the algorithm on every platform to show your content to the right people. And if you don't do that, then the algorithm gets confused. And on next week's episode, we're going to dive into how you can train the algorithm. We're not usually people who talk much about the algorithm because we're very much about human first content. But in next week's episode, we're going to dive into how you can train the algorithm so it knows exactly what it is that you do, who you help, who to show your content to, because that is kind of a strategy that a lot of people overlook, but it is a massive game changer to your content. So make sure that you hit subscribe wherever you're listening so you don't miss that episode.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So yeah, that's that then. If you've got questions about any of this, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, drop them below. Otherwise, come into our Instagram DMs. We're always happy. Well, Laura Davis especially is always happy to chat about niching. I feel like if you were on Mastermind, it might be your like specialist subject.
It may well be.
That'll data.
That or phrases.
Yeah, okay.
Saying.
Anyway.
Right, so we'll be back with that corker next week. Yeah, we'd love to hear what you think. So come and chat with us wherever you are. And yeah, we'll see you next week.